She's the baddie, confident but performative. She's the darling, the cutie pie, sweet but self sacrificing. She's the plain Jane, grounded but overlooked. She's the soft girl, romantic but idealistic. And she's the femme fatale, magnetic but untouchable. Hi, my name is Tammy and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, this is the channel where psychology meets old Hollywood glamour meets feminine energy. We live in a world obsessed with labels. For example, the baddie, the cutie, the soft girl. But underneath the gloss and the filter, these types tell us something deeper about power, confidence, and how women choose to be seen. But what if your identity is not who you are, but who you perform? Especially in a world that's always watching. In today's video, I am going to discuss the strengths and weaknesses of 5 feminine archetypes. The baddie, the darling, the soft girl, the plain Jane, and the femme fatale. Let's get into it. Number 1, the baddie. Now, it takes a lot to be this girl. Okay, so let's just break down the essence of a baddie. So, a baddie is from the influencer culture. Early 2010 glam, the Instagram baddie era, even Pinterest. So their aesthetic includes full glam, full makeup contour, designer fits, hyper curated self. Now with this particular archetype, remember the word curated. Everything with this particular type is curated. You see what they want you to see and how they want you to see it. So she's a baddie, she's confident, magnetic. She's impossible to ignore. When you have all of this going on, because baddies always have their hair done, their nails done, they're always wearing the latest fashions, it's going to be hard to look away. You're definitely going to do a double take. And not just because it's a beautiful girl, but there's just a lot of things going on at one time. So a baddie moves like she owns the world because for a second, she does. Their style often includes streetwear with high fashion or luxury elements. You may see long boots. Some key clothing items for baddies include crop tops, bodysuits, high-waisted jeans, cargo pants or leggings, oversized jackets, blazers, very form-fitting clothes that show their silhouette, that show their curves, and they can wear vibrant colors, bold colors, monochromatic, neutral. So they have quite a variety of styles that they embody. Let's get into the psychology of a baddie. So a baddie was born in the digital age, so the internet gave birth to the baddie. A baddie is a woman that learned that visibility is a form of power. Her image is currency. A baddie knows that people will pay her for how she looks. Her mirror is a stage. She performs perfection because the world rewards it. Like I said, she can be paid or live a certain kind of lifestyle because she's beautiful or has a beautiful aesthetic about her. They are in control of how you see them. That is one of their powers. Her power is presentation. That's why you see baddies are always very well put together. From their jewelry, from their accessories. The baddie gives a false sense of perfection because they control how you see them, which allows them to control their perception. Baddies always have their hair done, always wear the most flattering or often very expensive clothing. These girls love to wear brands because wearing brands is a part of their brand. They want you to know that if you date them, then you have to afford them and their lifestyle. That's why you see baddies dating a lot of professional men. A lot of baddies date athletes. They date very high profile men. They date rappers. They date men who they feel can afford their lifestyle. And in return, these men get a bad chick on their arms. And a lot of these men, they feel like it's an even exchange. I provide you with money and a lifestyle and you make me look good. Now, not every attractive woman who likes to wear brands or likes this particular aesthetic and likes to date high-profile men as a baddie could just be somebody's preference. But in this video, we were talking about the specific aesthetic and traits of a baddie. Also with this particular aesthetic, not all, but some of the women do have BBLs, do have cosmetic surgery. And a lot of these women will indulge in these things if they feel they need them. Remember, their biggest thing is curation. If they feel that they need to enhance a certain feature or to look better in this area. So some of these women will go to the gym and get it done naturally, and some of them will go and pay for it. Because remember, it's all about a look. And specifically in this category, for a baddie, you can't just have a pretty face. You also have to have a banging body. And I think that having a nice body kind of sets this category different from the other categories of women, because with a baddie, it's one thing to have a nice face, but what makes a baddie a true baddie is she has the body too. Like I said, these women are hard to ignore because they have the face, they have the body, they have the clothing, they have all of the things. Another distinctive thing about a baddie that I do want to note, a baddie has to have a certain attitude. There are a lot of pretty girls that look nice, they have a pretty face, they have a pretty body, but they don't necessarily have the baddie attitude. A baddie has to know that she is that girl. A baddie has to know that her body is banging, that she looks good. She has to have a certain kind of confidence, a certain kind of air about herself that she is her, that she is that girl. And there are a lot of pretty girls that maybe fit this aesthetic, but what kind of drops them off of the baddie list, they don't have the attitude or the mentality. If you want to know what kind of attitude I'm referring to when it comes to a baddie, just watch a baddie take a photo or a selfie. And you're going to see what I'm talking about when I say the attitude has to come through. And a baddie also has to have very high confidence. And of course, most of them do, or they pretend they do, or people automatically assume they do. When you see a woman with her hair done, nails, shoes, designer, she's driving a certain car, she lives a certain lifestyle, there's usually an assumption that she has a certain level of confidence. And sometimes, even if they're not confident, if they are able to achieve all of those things, they do get some type of confidence or some type of fake confidence at least. Now, a baddie's strength is that her power is control. She knows her angles. She knows her value. She reminds every woman that it's okay to take up space. She's unapologetic. What I like about baddies is that they hype themselves up. They go get their hair done. They go take a pretty picture. They go do things to make themselves feel the way they want to feel. They know what looks good on them, and they're not afraid to walk in that bold and confidently. And I do love that they take up space, because I feel like a lot of women are afraid to take up space, or they feel like they're not worthy to take up space. So I love that baddies are not afraid to show themselves in that way, and that they exude high levels of confidence. Now, weakness or a shadow of a baddie is that perfection is exhausting. Imagine these women getting up every day, maintaining their hair, their makeup, their clothes, a particular lifestyle. Just imagine all of the work that goes into that. Behind the lashes, behind the liner, the baddie often wonders if they stop performing, will people still love them? The baddie does reclaim the male gaze, but they're also trapped by it. They often feel like if they don't have a certain look, that a man will not pay them attention. Weakness or a shadow of a baddie is that their look becomes repetitive and trendy. If you notice nowadays, the ones that still have that baddie aesthetic, they all look alike. They all have the same kind of features, the same kind of makeup, the same kind of clothing. They kind of lose their individuality. Another shadow or weakness of a baddie is that what if they want a day off? What if they don't want to be on 24/7? Once again, like I said, they wonder a lot if they will get the same attention and affection. And with a lot of women in this category, it can lead to insecurities, because a lot of times these women don't know if the men in their life are choosing them just because they look good. They don't know if the friends, the female friends that are choosing them in their life, are choosing them because they really like them, or they're capitalizing off their looks, because baddies capitalize off their looks. So it's always in the back of their mind if other people are just using them to also only capitalize off their looks. And I'll give you an old school example. Marilyn Monroe. Men, women, people loved Marilyn Monroe as Marilyn Monroe, with all the hair, the makeup, the red lips. They loved the persona. But when Marilyn was just Norma Jean, oftentimes she was not given the same love or affection. She was not looked at or adored the same. And that was a big part of Marilyn's insecurity and a big part of her depression, that people didn't really love her for her. And going back to being highly curated, Marilyn's look when she was Marilyn Monroe was highly curated, from her red lips to how she walked, how she talked, how she moved, so much so that it became bigger than her. Now, the way Marilyn marketed herself is brilliant, needs to be studied, because Marilyn had it broken down to a science. But oftentimes, the person underneath that persona was very unhappy. For me, one of the most saddest things about a baddie is that when I see women that have transitioned into that baddie stage, not all of them, but some, before they became a baddie, they were so unique and so beautiful and so bad before they got into the baddie aesthetic. They were naturally beautiful on their own. But then they ventured into the baddie aesthetic. They started looking like everybody else, doing their hair like everybody else, getting all these enhancements and cosmetic surgeries. And before you know it, they have lost their unique individuality and they are pretty much blended. They don't really stand out anymore. They have become everybody else instead of maintaining their unique self. The takeaway for a baddie is that confidence is magnetic, but it's even more powerful when it's real. Number 2, the darling. Sweet, but self-sacrificing. Now, you can also call this girl the sweetie pie or the cutie pie, but for the sake of this video, we're going to call her the darling. Now, everybody knows a darling. Now, the essence of a darling, think about softness, approachability, warmth. Think about the girl that always gets the guy at the end in rom-com movies. So this is going to be your early 2000s rom-com energy. The girl next door. Their aesthetics include like gloss, bows. You can associate them with laughter, relatable imperfection. I'm just giving you some words to kind of put you in the feeling of what a darling is like. You love darlings for their charm, not their control. Their power is gentleness. Very gentle. And they are kind and endlessly adored. Now let's get into the psychology of a darling. So a darling was born to be loved. And they've kind of had a lot of love in their life, a very well-balanced love, which is why they know how to give it, which is why they're very soft and approachable. They're not anxious in that way. They were born to comfort, to please, to nurture. A darling's softness isn't weakness, it's survival. She learned earlier on that being liked meant being safe. The darling is not just known for her cute face, but also her cute and calm attitude. This is a girl that makes others feel safe. Her smile is an invitation. If you are at an event or if you're in a group setting and you don't feel comfortable, you don't know who to talk to, if there is a darling in this group, then she is going to be the one to break the ice, the one to bring you into the conversation, the one to make you feel more comfortable, the one that you're going to trust to even be yourself with and be open with. That's why darlings are so important. She's going to make you feel like you are a part of the group. Darlings just make the environment or the ambiance feel more comforting and friendly. They have a light to them in this way. Now, a lot of times the darling is often underestimated because her value is not centered around her looks. This girl's attitude is so pretty that it automatically makes her attractive. She is the epitome of people remember how you make them feel. And she makes people feel happy and safe. You will definitely know a darling when you encounter one. Her power isn't seduction, it's sincerity. They actually like being good people in a way that makes other people happy. Even when people feel uptight or not in a good mood, the darling disarms them through innocence. Isn't that pretty cool? The darling is a girl that everyone wants to vent to. The one whose laughter lights up a room. The darling doesn't need or demand attention. She earns it by making others feel seen. The darling's strength is empathy. She understands that this world is a tough place and that it could use more empathy, more kindness. She reminds the world that gentleness can be powerful and kindness can shift entire rooms. These women have another level type of beauty that comes from within. As cliche as it sounds, that is really their superpower. These women remember to smile at people because you never know what somebody may be going through. Now, her weakness is that sometimes her warmth burns her out. She can give until there's nothing left, waiting for others to notice that she's tired. This girl can be so self-sacrificial that she forgets to pour into herself. She, a lot of times, put others before her needs. A lot of times, she swallows her own sadness just to make others feel comfortable or feel better. These women sometimes get so focused and caught up on helping others that they forget to help themselves. And this can lead to resentment when they get much older, or if they go through a period of time where they don't feel appreciated, or if they don't feel that their love was reciprocated. The takeaway for a darling is that you can be a darling and still have boundaries, and you deserve rest too. And you deserve for someone to pour into you too, and you don't always have to save the world. Number 3, the plain Jane. Grounded, but overlooked. Now, the plain Janes are probably the most slept on archetype. They shouldn't be, though. So let me just give you the essence of a plain Jane. So plain Jane, simplicity, modesty, comfort in invisibility. They don't have to be seen in that way. They have an anti-aesthetic, if that makes sense. These women reject performance. Their aesthetic is neutral tones, minimal makeup, and functional fashion. These women want to be valued for depth and not display. Hence the name Plain Jane. They're very calm, very practical, like I said, very grounded. This woman does not chase attention, and that's probably why she holds attention the longest out of any type. Now let's get into the psychology of the Plain Jane. So, Plain Jane often lives in between two extremes. Too subtle for spectacle, too sincere for performance. She seeks meaning over validation. But in a world so loud, sometimes her silence is often mistaken for insignificance. This type has a silent strength. The plain Jane may seem overlooked, but they do often hold a quiet influence. Like, because they are so plain and they're so comfortable being plain, they don't really need all the attention that this world sometimes makes us think we do. A lot of women secretly look up to them or look to them for how they move. And a lot of women secretly admire them because they are the opposite of a plain Jane. See, plain doesn't mean necessarily bad. Plain means with these women that it's okay to be seen as who you are. A plain Jane doesn't need to feel extra to be a part. They can stand confident just by themselves. These women are not seeking attention. They're not setting thirst traps. Instead, they put their attention where they feel is best served, and they give their attention to who they feel most deserve it. You see how they are very intentional and very specific about what they put their time into? That's very powerful. These women are not worried about what they're going to wear to an event. They're not worried about, okay, I'm about to go to the store. Like, what should I put on? They're going to put on what's most comfortable and what's best for them to wear that they feel they look good in. Even if they feel they don't fit in with the others, they're okay with that because they are not vain. They don't value the gossip and opinions of the vain. Now, a lot of these women grew up working very hard, or they grew up in households where the people worked very hard to get where they are, which is why they value functionality, which is why they value efficiency, intention-driven things that make sense. Because these women are the least vain, they have that time to put that attention elsewhere. And because of that, these women are very smart and very keen in other ways that some women are not, because they take that time that they don't put into vanity. They take it to go read. They take it to go study something or learn something new or different. They take it to get caught up on their tasks. So these women a lot of times are much more advanced in a lot of ways. These women are not taking an hour and a half to get ready to go anywhere. They're going to wear what's comfortable, what's appropriate or necessary. They're going to go on about their way. They just don't have time for that. And it's just not them. They view beauty in a more old-fashioned type of way where it's beauty that meets classy, that's mixed with the groundedness, that is mixed with peace and balance. Plain Janes have a particular type of inner strength that is often overlooked. The Plain Jane's strength is that their superpower is stability. These are very stable women, very well balanced. She is a woman who endures. She's thoughtful, she's introspective, and she does not look to others for validation. She is comfortable in her own skin, literally. Now, her weakness or her shadow, and this makes me sad to even say it, her weakness or shadow is that being overlooked can cause self-erasure. Sometimes they have a tendency to just fade into the background. One of the most hurtful things that this type can feel at times is invisible. Like they're not seen, that nobody's looking at them. In a world where beauty and glamour and facades run the show, Plain Jane can easily get overlooked. And they feel overlooked. They can feel it, but they're still comfortable being themselves regardless. It just can hurt sometimes, of course. And a lot of times people don't give this type a chance because they feel that because they are the Plain Jane type, that they're boring, they're not fun, they're not exciting. But it's actually the opposite. They just put their value in different places. These types can actually expand your mind to a whole nother level if you give them a try, because they are severely underestimated. And because of this, the Plain Jane sometimes forgets that she deserves to be seen too. The takeaway for the Plain Jane is that visibility does not require vanity, and sometimes grace is loud enough. Number 4, the soft girl. Romantic but idealistic. When I think about the soft girl, I think about frolicking in the meadows, somewhere picking flowers, somewhere drinking tea in Paris. Oh, how I love the soft girl. Now, this is one of my favorite girls because I think the 9 to 5, the exhaustion of the 9 to 5, the being overworked of it all led to this girl being very popular or getting a boost, because who at some point doesn't want a soft life? Let me give you the essence of the soft girl. Her essence is femininity as an art of rebellion. I love that. These women don't care. They are choosing to be feminine whether you like it or not, because they feel that it is their right in some form or facet. So when you think about the soft girl, the essence, let's think about the Tumblr days, that romantic, poetic, those type of pictures. Let's think about Lana Del Rey. Let's think about the 60s nostalgia meets Gen Z romanticism. And one of the things that I love about this girl is the 60s nostalgia. If you can remember in the 60s were a time when women were starting to wear dresses that were not like the stereotypical housewife, and they started to break rules. They started to wear shorter dresses, and they started to wear pastel colors, and they started to put bows in their hair. And the 60s was just a time where women were like, you know what, I'm going to kind of reclaim and take back my look and take back my femininity. And I love bows in the hair. And I've never said that out loud because as a grown woman, little kids wear bows in their hair. But I'm not talking about several bows. I just love in the 60s when women would wear the ribbons or the bows in their hair. I always thought it was so cute, and I think it's cute to this day. And if you do it right and do it a certain way, it still looks good. So when I see the soft girl, they just remind me of that time where women were like, you know what? I'm going to take back my time. I'm going to reclaim my femininity. I'm going to wear what I want to wear, how I want to wear it. So when you think about this girl, you're going to think about ribbons, pearls, candlelight, lace. Delicacy is their power. Like I said, softness is a rebellion for these women. Her world is built on beauty, emotion, and hope. She feels deeply, she's dreamy, she's delicate, living in a world of pastel tones and possibilities. Catchphrase for this girl can be pretty in pink. So let's get into the psychology of the soft girl. So she thrives off feeling. She wants to live life in a very poetic, gentle, cinematic, and romantic way. But softness can be her sanctuary and it could be her trap. When the fantasy fades, she struggles to stay grounded. Now, these women are really smart, but tricky because they come across as soft and delicate, but not because they are weak. Actually, there's nothing weak about them. They're very intentional and they're very driven. Their softness is more of a political stance, to be honest. It's a political stance in a world that demands hardness. Soft girls don't want any part of the hardness. Soft girls are saying, I'm a woman and I deserve to sit in my femininity and I deserve to be soft. This is quintessential for them. This is essential for them. Basically, don't let the pink fool you. These women know what they're doing. They're not wearing pink just to say, I am girly and I'm pretty in pink. It's also, like I said, a part of a rebellion of what they stand for. They feel they deserve to be soft and have pretty things. These girls do not desire hard labor. So much so that they have managed to create a life where they do not partake in hard labor. Now, I will say to be one of these girls, you're going to either have to come from money, come up on some money, or you're going to have to be in a relationship or have some type of partnership where the partner doesn't mind pulling the heavy load and bringing in the money so that you can still live your very soft lifestyle. Now, some of these girls do still work, but they do have jobs where they're not working very hard physically and they're not being stressed mentally. Their jobs are very minimal because when they get off, they do want to go over and indulge in their soft life. And eventually these girls don't want to work at all. They want to just have the soft life. Now, interesting enough, I have found that in this category, a lot of women that want the soft life or have the soft life, they do come from backgrounds where they saw their family struggling and working very hard and having a hard time making ends meet, so much so that they want the complete opposite of that life. Being broke may be a trigger for these women, so much so that they almost have become obsessed with having the soft life. It's almost by any means necessary. And not all of them, just some of them in this category. The soft life is a safe space for them and is sometimes a deflection from reality, if you know what I mean. Now, also the women in this category, much like the baddie, they have a very curated life. If you see a soft girl, it kind of reminds you of, I don't know, cute little bows and rainbows, violins playing in the background. They have a very pastel pink, neutral type of aesthetic, kind of a classy, cutesy girl kind of aesthetic. So they are also very curated as well. Now, the strength of a soft life girl is that her power is her vulnerability. She reminds women that tenderness is not weakness. It's courage in a silk form. And a lot of men do like these type of women because they are very, very feminine. And a lot of men that like to feel masculine like to be around very feminine women. So they get a feminine woman and in return they get to feel even more masculine. And there are a lot of men that do not want their women to work. They do want their women to just be pretty and soft. And these girls are okay with that because that's what they want too. I'm often seeing women that do have to play both the feminine and the masculine part in their life. And I often find that those women, they do want to indulge in a soft life, but they can't because of financial restraints. Their dynamic is not set up that way. There's just something in their life that just will not allow them to. But a lot of women do love and want to be this soft girl. They just hope to get to a point where they can be. Now, the shadow or weakness of the soft girl is that sometimes this girl is not steeped in reality enough. And sometimes you don't know if this girl is living in a fantasy world or if she's living in real life. Or if they can really tell the difference. They kind of muddle the two. They can get so caught up in the soft girl life that when real life does hit, they don't quite know how to handle it. Or they don't want to handle it. Or they're too in shock to handle it. They can sometimes live in a dream state for just too long and not recognize that life is actually happening. For example, say for some reason they had to go out and go back to a 9 to 5, a vigorous 9 to 5. These women will have a very hard time adapting to that, because if you've been living a soft life for quite a time, it's not going to be easy for you to go back to the hustle and bustle and the weight of a 9 to 5. So these women may be prone to go out and swiping their credit cards or doing things they shouldn't be doing just to make sure that they can protect this soft life. These women can create a dream, but they can get caught up and lost in the dream at the same time. These women often chase the perfect moment, but they risk missing a real one. The takeaway for the soft girl is, it's okay to romanticize your life, but just remember that real life is beautiful too. And number 5, the femme fatale. Magnetic, but untouchable. Now, if you watch my channel, then you know that this is an archetype that I am very familiar with. So let's get into the essence of a femme fatale. Mystery, allure, confidence rooted in self-awareness. These women, if you think about the aesthetic, you may think about a smoky eyes or red lips, poised posture, very cool under pressure. They're timeless, elusive. Elusive meaning difficult to find, catch, and achieve. She's allure and intellect wrapped in a velvet blanket. Now let's get into the psychology of a femme fatale. A femme fatale knows that power is not loud. It's composed. Femme fatale knows that it's more powerful to sometimes just be silent. She has learned that mystery is protection, and that distance can keep her in control. She seduces not for approval, but to remind herself that she can. The femme fatale is probably a combination of all the archetypes discussed in this video. They are the synthesis. Beauty, control, vulnerability, commanding silence without ever raising their voice. Femme fatales like power, they like control, but not to really control others. They like to control so that they won't lose control, which is one of their powers. A femme fatale knows what she wants and she knows her worth. A femme fatale is very smart. She has had to be. So their intelligence is very organic, meaning that they have had to learn a lot of hard lessons to get to where they are. But instead of dwelling in it, they chose to let it empower them, which is why they are so headstrong and non-wavering. Femme fatales don't waste time. They are not going back and forth with you. You can look at a femme fatale, it's almost as if they've had a past life, because there was some type of hard lesson that they've had to endure that gave birth to the new version of them, that gave them this type of thinking along with innate qualities that they've already had. These women, unlike other types, can't be figured out or are very hard to be figured out. They usually throw you off before you can figure them out. They like to do that. They prefer mystery. It's for protection, and they only care to show their true self to people that they feel deserve to see their true self. They don't fall for the tricks of the world because they've already fallen for it. So they can also recognize the tricks of the world. Femme fatales are very beautiful, very irresistible. When you think about a baddie and a femme fatale, not too much comparison. The femme fatales are a different type of baddie on a whole another level, because a lot of their baddiness comes from here. And then they already have the beauty and the other things to go along with it. And femme fatales do not need validation from others. They have learned and found ways to give that validation to themselves, which makes them stronger compared to other archetypes. These women are very keen, calculating, confident, and can hold their own in just about any room. Very magnetic, that people are just naturally drawn to them. People want to know about the femme fatale. Femme fatales are very hard to forget, especially with men. Femme fatales are very memorable, but people are often confused of why they want to remember a femme fatale, but they want to. And it's probably because femme fatales are very rare. You're not going to run into a lot of true femme fatales. But if you do encounter one, you will know that you have encountered one, because that magnetic pull will be so strong. You will see how others are drawn to them. You will see how you are drawn to them. You will see how your eyes just keep pulling towards them. It's just something about them that's very different, very rare, and very mesmerizing, but you just can't quite put your finger on it. With femme fatales, their presence has the ability to shift energy in rooms, and you will feel that shift. They're very fun to watch, how they work a room, how they work people. If you ever encounter one or think you're encountering one, just observe and just focus in, because they are very fascinating. And you'll find yourself wondering who she was or how she did that. But of course, before you can ask them, they will be gone. So a femme fatale's strength is that their presence is mastery. When you see a femme fatale, you are seeing a master at work. These women get down to business. They get down to business. Femme fatales embody self-awareness. They have depth and unshakable confidence. She's the woman that every era studies, but few truly know. My favorite thing about a femme fatale is that how emotionally controlled they are. I think the thing that makes them the most magic is that they have beautiful emotional control, which they've had to train themselves to get to that level, of course. But what makes them stand out apart from other women is that they are very self-aware, very emotionally controlled, and they have a beautiful emotional intelligence. Now, their shadow or their weakness is that she is so focused on control that she sometimes often loses connection. Her power can actually hold her captive. Femme fatales are often admired, but often alone and isolated. It can be lonely for a femme fatale at times, and it can be isolating. But the cool thing about a femme fatale, she knows that. She knows that to be her, to truly be her, and steeped in her femme fatale ways, that sometimes isolation and loneliness comes with that. And she understands that, and that's the price that she pays to be her, if she chooses to go that route. The takeaway for the femme fatale is that true magnetism does not come from just being untouchable, but from being unapologetically real. And to want attention, but to not need it. And to have unshakable confidence that no matter where you are, who you're standing next to, or what room you're in, you are grounded and you know who and what you are. So what I have learned from each archetype is that the power is not in choosing one, but mastering the strengths of all five, so that you can be any one of these women when you need to be and when you want to be. The art of being a woman is being transformational and knowing yourself in every form. Because when you understand who you have been taught to be, you start choosing who you truly are. So that is all for today's video. If you like this type of content, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments below and let's continue the conversation. So which archetype do you gravitate towards the most? And remember that every woman is iconic. I will see you all in the next one. Bye now.